Okay, we'll call a meeting to order. It is,
Nick?
I got it on. Yeah. It is 6:02 p.m. We'll call to order the regular meeting of the Clearlake City Council and Redevelopment Successor Agency, Clearlake City Hall Council Chambers, right here at 14050 Olympic Drive in Clearlake, California. Madam Clerk, if you do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Slutin.
Present.
Councilmember Overton.
Present.
Councilmember Harris.
Here.
Vice Mayor Kramer.
Here.
And Mayor Bennett.
Here. Mr. Folsom, if you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would remain standing, we have, got it here, Pastor Chris Gravenson to do an invocation.
Where did he go? There he is.
Our Lord, because your word says we can boldly approach your throne, we come to you now praying in confidence that this evening that you will hear and answer our prayers. We're facing serious issues in our city, and we thank you for serious, dedicated people, both elected and appointed, that serve with great commitment. Lord, bless the city council with wisdom and insights as they go about the business of our city. Let it not only be for this evening, but let your blessing extend beyond as they serve the terms. Lord, prosper our city, protect our city, and bless our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Mr. Folsom, is there any change to the agenda as presented?
No, Mr. Mayor, no changes.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's come down to,
Actually, can I recommend that we put my presentation way at the end?
we can do that.
Just
Why you think
to make all these people stick around?
We can do that.
You may not want to do that. Right?
I will go with, we have a swearing in of two members of our public safety unit. Chief White.
So glad to see that she's here.
All right, good evening, Mayor.
Yeah, it's working.
Not working very well. I'll speak up. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and members of the public. This evening, we have the opportunity to swear in two employees, two of whom have been promoted. We'll start out first with Willow Goldtooth. Willow was born in Deer Park, California, and has lived in Lake County for her entire life. She currently attends Santa Rosa Junior College. Her educational goal is to earn her associate's degree. She has a passion for traveling, hiking, and of course, animals. She's worked as a kennel technician for Clearlake Animal Care and Control since March of 2018. She's looking forward to making a positive impact on the community as an animal control officer. Next, we have Ryan Peterson. You all know Ryan. He's been with the Clearlake Police Department since 2007. He served in a variety of assignments during his time here, including as a patrol officer, field training officer, code enforcement officer, gang enforcement officer, multidisciplinary interview team member, sexual assault team member, watch commander, and acting patrol sergeant. Ryan was Police Officer of the Year in 2008 and a Support Services Employee of the Year in 2015. Prior to his promotion to sergeant, Ryan worked as a detective and was well regarded inside and outside the agency for his investigative skills and his tenacity to solve complex crimes. Additionally, Ryan has been instrumental in lending his construction skills to complete many projects at the police department and at our animal care facility. So with that, we will swear both of them in. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. Say your name. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
And there's a lot of pride. It's so good to see.
I just want to say that Ryan and I worked together for several years. The last 3 of my career, both of us were in the investigation division, and that's where most of my gray hairs came from.
But he lost all of his, right?
Let's, we won't keep you all in suspense. Let's go ahead and do Mr. Folsom's presentation here. If the council will join me down below.
I think he was serious when he wanted it at the end.
I want to put into, everybody hear me? I want to put read a message I got from Ed Roby, who is a former city councilman here, mayor, and board of supervisors. And he was unable to make it tonight. And he wrote a statement for grateful some farewell. I wish I could be there this evening to wish farewell to Great Folsom. I've worked with and observed every city manager in the city of Clearlake since the city incorporated in 1980. I want to say that Great Folsom is without a doubt the best city manager we've ever had. I wish him well and thank him for all his many lasting contributions to our community. Ed Roby. For Ms. Folsom, the council would like to state that whereas Greg Folsom was appointed as city manager for the city of Clearlake in June 2015, and whereas Greg has been an exemplary leader, mentor, and trailblazer for the city and its goals and objectives, and whereas Greg has dedicated his time, his heart, and his soul into his responsibilities as city manager, often working nights, weekends, and vacations to ensure the future of Clearlake looks bright. Whereas Greg has ensured quality and excellence from his staff, leading by example with his infamous red pen. Somebody should have brought that over. And whereas Greg has been an asset to the city of Clearlake, working diligently to spearhead projects such as the Highlands Visitor Center, Dam Road Extension Project, a bright new city logo, city annual photo contest, an annual State of the City address, new commercial development like Big Five Sporting Goods and Tractor Supply, city energy efficiency project, and too many other projects to mention that Greg has directed but is too humble to take credit for. Let it be proclaimed that Greg Folsom is to be commended for his commitment to serving the citizens of the city of Clearlake, and while the city council and staff will miss his guidance, he's extended warmest wishes for the future. And Taylor Morrison from Senator McGuire's office.
Thank you so much. So I'm Taylor Morrison. I'm a district representative for State Senator Mike McGuire, and I just wanted to come today on behalf and to represent this certificate of recognition for all of your great work as city manager for the city of Clearlake. And so on behalf of Senator McGuire and Assembly Member Aguiar Curry, I just wanted to present to you the certificate and really appreciate all of your dedicated service to the city, and we wish you the best in your next endeavor.
Thank you.
And I want to tell you, it's not anything that's written down, but it takes two to do his job. As far as the commitment he is given to the city, the time away from home has been tremendous. So we also give appreciation to his wife. I'd like also to give you this plaque in appreciation of Greg Folsom, City Manager 2015-2019. You made Clearlake cleaner, safer, and better.
So a couple of things. First of all, I want to tell you about the first time my wife and I came to a city council meeting. There's a reason my wife doesn't normally come to city council meetings. It was when my contract was first approved here. It was on the agenda for my contract approval. My wife and I were in the audience. Bill Shields comes up and says, "Well, what's wrong with him? Why would he want to come here?" And my wife and I responded, "Oh my God." So she doesn't come to council members meetings anymore. The last 4 years have just absolutely been the best of my life being city manager here in Clearlake. It's been awesome. I'm not going to go on. Just tell you my other joke. I told Melissa not to have any cake, and there's a reason, not because I don't like cake, but because I've already got it on my tie, I got it on my jacket. No, thank you all. I appreciate everyone who's come out. You guys have all been wonderful. I've had a wonderful staff. I've had the best city council members, starting from those who hired me. I want to appreciate, out in the audience, Russ Burdock, Denise Lustelo, both fantastic mayors. Bruno back there was also fantastic mayor with Nick. I've had nothing but the best of luck with councils. That hasn't necessarily been the case here. The reason Clearlake is doing the way that it's doing now is because we've had great council members. I mean, that's just it. I was fortunate to be the right guy at the right place at the right time with the right council. I had fantastic staff. Doug, who's going to be retiring here in a couple of weeks, has been fantastic. He's given me a lot of advice. He's helped get a lot of the stuff going on that's happening right now. Melissa's been my left-hand girl. She's helped me with everything. Tim Selly, out in the back, he stepped in, he stepped up. He was interim police chief for several years. He did a fantastic job. Who am I forgetting? Alan, hired him a year ago. One of the best decisions that I've made as city manager was bringing Alan on. Andrew White, another fantastic hire. But I just want to thank everybody. I've had all the public works guys, all the cops, rest of my staff, Addie over here, our city attorney, Paul Coble is standing in. Ryan couldn't be here today, but we've had a great city attorney. I just benefited from having great staff, great counsel, and all of you folks who helped out in one way or another. So I just want to thank you all, and that's all I have to say.
Mayor, we have one more memento. So Greg's famous for his red pen, so we gave him a giant red pen that we all signed, but we also wanted to give you another memento from your leadership team and the council. We just appreciate everything you've done for this city, and when we first talked about this, I told you that I hope you get the recognition that you deserve, because you should be very proud about what you've done here, and hopefully tonight you feel like that's happened. So don't forget about us. You're having a rough day. Take a look at this. And if you get bored with this picture, there's another one behind it, one of our favorite Halloween costumes.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. All right, go away.
So what kind of business? New office, is that correct? Are you doing the Meals on Wheels one?
Yes. Madam Clerk, how much of that cake is left, do you know?
Probably quite a bit.
Okay, we'll save that for Doug's retirement. We have one other presentation. Mr. Journey? We have proclaimed. Oh, sure. Come on up. This is March designated meals, March for Meals Month. Whereas on October 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965. I wasn't old then. And established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years or older. Whereas the Meals on Wheels Association of America established the National March for Meals campaign March 2002 to recognize the historic month. The importance of Older Americans Act Senior Nutrition Program and raise awareness about senior hunger in America. Whereas the 2019 observance of the March for Meals campaign provides an opportunity to support senior nutrition programs that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger. Whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels program in Clearlake are the backbone of the program, and they not only deliver nutritious meals to homebound seniors and individuals with disabilities, but also caring, concern, and attention to the welfare. And whereas senior nutrition programs provide nutritious meals to seniors throughout the city and help them to avoid premature or unnecessary institutionalization. Whereas senior nutrition programs also provide a powerful socialization opportunity for millions of seniors to help combat loneliness and isolation. Whereas senior nutrition programs at Clearlake deserve recognition for the contributions they have made and will continue to make to our local community. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Clearlake does hereby proclaim March 2019 as March for Meals Month and urges every citizen to take time this month to honor our senior nutrition program, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. Our recognition and involvement of the 2019 March for Meals campaign can enrich our entire community and help end senior hunger program. So no senior goes hungry. Dated this 14th day of March 2019.
We'd just like to make everyone aware that we're starting to have a lot of fundraisers, and we've already had a couple of fun ones. And the next one coming up is the Mardi Gras fundraiser, Friday, March 29th. And it's from 6 to 9, and there's jambalaya or a fish dinner, and it's $15. I have tickets with me, or you can buy it if you like.
And we're gonna have another like jazz band.
Oh yeah, the Lower Lake Jazz Band's gonna be there. It's gonna be really fun. I've got a couple flyers.
I also want to say that we've got some new board members, and we're also looking for board members, so if anybody's interested in being on our board, we would greatly appreciate it. It does take a lot to make sure that our seniors are served here. Our small little center here delivers approximately 100 meals a day to seniors that are homebound. It's not just about the meals either, though. It's about sometimes is their safety. You know, they don't have families that's checking on them every day. Families may live out of town, or they may not even have families. And if it wasn't for our drivers, you know, unfortunately, someone would have passed at home alone, you know, by themselves. So it is a tough job, and you get very attached to the people that you deliver to. And, you know, it really does become kind of their lifeline to society, where they, you know they have somebody to talk to every day. They know they have food being delivered, and they know they have somebody checking on them, so they're not alone. You know, and so it's really important. So if anybody's interested, also being a driver for a route, we're looking for a driver to help deliver the meals. We're getting larger, so we have in the last 3 years we have went from 4 routes to 6, and I really need to add another route. So I'm actually looking for 2 drivers. So if anybody's interested, but it's really important, you know, our meals. So if you're a senior, please come down to the senior center and join us. Our funding really does depend on how many people that we have coming into our facilities and participating in our program too. We only get 53 cents a meal from one of the grants that we have. It costs us $9 a meal to run our programs. So as you can see, there is a lot of money that we have to come up with every year. So supporting the program, supporting the fundraisers that we have is really important. So we really appreciate any help, and we appreciate everything that everybody does do for us. It's always greatly appreciated. The people that come to our fundraisers and donate to us, we cannot survive without the community. So I want to thank you guys all for the participation and the donations that we've received from you. It's greatly appreciated.
We now have a presentation by Clearlake Waste Solutions, their annual report.
It's all about garbage.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Maybe,
Good evening. Mayor Bennett, members of the council. I'm Kristen Byrne from Clearlake Waste Solutions. I'm joined by Lindsay McCullough, Operations Manager for Clearlake Waste Solutions. And we're here tonight for our annual report. I think that what we've submitted to the city has already been distributed.
You want to use mine?
yes.
Hard to hear me? I'm happy. Oh, goodness, thank you. There's cake too over here still, Greg. Yeah, exactly. So sorry, I'll start. I'm Kristen Byrne from Clearlake Waste Solutions, joined by Operations Manager Lindsay McCullough, also of Clearlake Waste Solutions. We're here tonight to discuss our annual report from 2018. I do believe that the report was do you all have the hard copy in front of you? Terrific. So I won't go one by one and read the entire 6-page report to you, but I would like to go ahead and share just a few thoughts from some of the highlights that you have within your packet. First off, we're coming up to the year anniversary of universal service here in the city of Clearlake. And for being 12 months in, we're pretty pleased with how close to seamless the process has been. There's certainly less contamination in our commercial enclosures because there's been a decrease in illegal dumping. Same thing we're seeing at the parks. Less material that we're picking up there that had otherwise previously been dumped. There's obviously some kinks in the first year of a program like this that we're working out by way of exemptions and some of our communications, but overall really good feedback. And recycling's up because we're collecting more material. So congratulations to the City of Clear Lake for that. There was a lot of heavy lifting, also spearheaded by Greg and Doug last year, and so good work to all. Second thing I'd like to point out is that you have a new interactive, dynamic website, clearlakerecycles.com. If you flip to the very last page of your packet, it looks very colorful. And a few highlights from that. It's a very dynamic tool. If anyone hasn't used it, you can use it on your mobile device or your desktop. It's clearlakerecycles.com. And if you have a question about what goes where and which can, that website will tell you. You'll notice what the report shows you is some of the top kind of searched items on what folks are looking to know what to do with: beverage containers, plastics, clothing, and textiles. But I think if you spend any time on the site, you'll be able to learn more about what goes where, and you'll be surprised at maybe what you know and didn't know. For example, just a little pop quiz. So wire hangers are made of, well, wire. Are they recyclable? I won't make you answer. But think about it. Where does that go? Which can does that go in? Or plastic hangers are plastic. Aren't all plastics recyclable? I don't know. Maybe you should go to clearlakerecycles.com and find out. What about beer bottles? They're glass. You probably think you know where those go. But what if the beer bottle's broken? Where does broken glass go? So it's a really useful tool. And the better job we do of putting the right things in the right can, then our rates are stabilized and material that's supposed to be recycled stays out of the landfill. So if you haven't visited clearlakerecycles.com, certainly take a visit there as well. The third thing I'd like to point out, and it's more in your cover letter than in the data in your packet, but the recycling markets continue to be, some days we say in peril, but right now we'll say in flux. But last year just alone, there was a 35% decrease in the plastic exports that used to go to China. Our second place for sending a lot of material was India. They're going to do the same thing as far as banning plastics. So the recycling markets are going to continue to be a challenge. And one of the state solutions for that is to put a lot of the responsibility on the producers. So we'll be looking at some changes, both legislatively and in our own regs, on what we're going to be doing with that kind of material moving forward. Just because it can be recycled doesn't mean that there's an end market for it. So it's tricky times. We're going to need better infrastructure But we just wanted to give you the heads up that we're on top of it, and we'll continue to report back to the council on the trends in the markets. Based on your cursory look of the packet, do you have any questions? We're pleased to serve. Thank you for having us.
We have our homework.
One quick
And you have your
question.
homework.
One quick question. I noticed that you have sent letters out to people that they had the wrong items in the wrong bag. Is that, it seems like it's a one-time deal, or is it continuing on that? Because it happened to us personally, that I guess I had plastic bags in the wrong place.
So it will be continued as we notice that there are materials in your can that should not be in there, that are not recyclable. At this time, we will continue to notify you.
And
So
fine us?
via mail and through phone calls. So the fines do come as the materials are contaminated, because it does cost to process contaminated materials.
Seems like the fine was larger than I remember seeing at any other city. Is that true?
It just depends on the material that's being found in there. The fine is set in our rates, so there is a fine for contaminating or recycling.
It helped us to figure out what goes where, though. No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, we'll open up for public comment. This is the time for any member of the public to address the city council on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the council or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. So I do have one request card from Laura Kelleher concerning public walking route.
Looks like we have another one.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not much of a speaker, but I have quite a bit to say. But we're going to stay on one topic tonight, and that is I'd like to propose that Clearlake considers a boardwalk or walking trails or walking paths that are designated all throughout the town. That maybe you've decided, well, 5 or 6 miles, and then go, because I work with CC4C, and I've been out on the roads a lot, and there's quite a bit of room on the sides of the road. So I'm just saying that to make it more user-friendly for the public and safer too, to do some designated trails and paths to where people can walk all over the place. Everything's so convenient and handy around here. And it's, totally, I think it's a doable opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have another from Lisa Wilson.
Good evening, my name is Lisa Wilson.
Your mic's out, so you have to yell.
My name is Lisa Wilson. I'm in the city of Clearlake, and I cannot stay for item 13, but I wanted to share with you my enthusiasm and support for your motion to approve the employment services agreement for the city manager, being Alan Flora. I think he would be super, and I would really look forward to working with him. And Greg picked him, and I think it was an awesome choice. And thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there any other people that might wish to address us on public comment? Mr. Jensen.
Good evening. I'd like to commend the former council and this council for your choice in Greg Folsom. And thank you, Greg, for your leadership of this city, your helmsmanship for the city manager's job, and for leaving this city in far better shape than you found it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Purdo.
Well, That is who I am, and I am
Okay,
a resident of Clear Lake.
Rustin.
And I also wanted to comment about my time serving with Greg, mayor, for a couple of years. And what didn't get mentioned, and it's okay, Nick, because, you know, I know, sometimes you forget things. But what happened, I'm sorry that Georgiana left, because when he first came, if you might recall, we had a thing called Rocky Fire. It was one of the first events, and I remember you wide-eyed at Station 70 at the emergency center, and that was just Fire 1. And then we had, you know, Fire 2 with the Clayton Fire, and then of course the Sulphur Fire. And I just want to say, through all those emergencies, and we had floods as well, your leadership was very much appreciated. Your guidance for all the city staff and your help to the city council and getting people where they needed to be, I very much appreciated. My only complaint, sir, is when we were having the big community debriefing, and as I was walking up to see what you were going to say, you handed me the card and said, "No, you're not going to read it." Good luck.
You did a great job, though, Russ.
That was wrong. Thank you very much.
One mistake.
Along those lines, if I might mention, Chief White has already forewarned Suisun City EOC to be prepared.
So he sparked something in me when he said that, the fire. His eyes were not as big as my eyes, fire number 1. As I'm rolling away 800 tires to put away, I'm thinking, we're gonna burn down before this even happens. And then Greg rolls up and says, oh, we're going here, we have to go look at this, we have to go look at that. And I go, I can't go anywhere, what are you talking about? And his eyes were that big, my eyes were that big, but you know what, with his leadership, he made the whole thing a breeze. And then, like Russ said, fire number 1, and then we went through a couple others. And with each one, he led the city, and he led the staff, and he led the community calmly, safely, and like everyone has said tonight, is leaving us now in a much better place. And I couldn't be happier.
Thank you, Denise. Any further comment?
I was just looking for more.
Come on up.
Hi, I'm Patty Duke, a property owner, and I want to publicly acknowledge that Supervisor Bruno brought up the defensible space versus the whole lot being cleared for lots that are less than 50 by 200. I thought that was great because the fire abatement thing is being discussed and is going to be finalized. And then coming into my private drive, PG&E drops all the limbs down into the gully, which is behind Big O. Behind the Veterans Administration, there's a gully. And so when they clear the lines, they drop all that down there. And that's a foreclosed property, or they're way behind, or I've never seen the people. What could they build there anyway? And then I want to commend Chief White. I talked to a couple of your officers, and they're really impressed with your methods. The drug team, you know, the gang team, the different teams, they feel very organized, and they're very happy with what you've done since you've been here. So I just want to commend you on that. That's fabulous. Okay?
Thank you very much. Any further comment? Okay. Move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Folsom, any change to the agenda?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I'll take a motion.
I'd like to pull item number 7. I have a question on that.
Okay. Anything further?
Do we have a list of people already, or is there it says maintains a waiting list of applicants. Do we have that?
Let me introduce Addie Brown for this one. Adeline?
Sorry.
We don't have a waiting list at this time.
Okay. Has there been a lot of questions about it? Or
Yes.
people have come to the counter and asking about this?
We've had quite a few. In the last year, we did probably more first-time homebuyer loans in the same year that we've ever done.
How many?
I want to say about 10. It's usually not that much. For years, we had none come through, and then we had a couple here and there, and last year we had a big year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just provide a little bit of background for Councilmember Slutin. The requests have been pretty high, and the interest has been high, and as part of the loan committee, we decided that it was important to have a little bit more structure to the way the loans were being approved, and so we established a spreadsheet similar to a lender puts together when you're getting a mortgage, and then also went through and updated these guidelines. So that's why you're seeing it before you
Okay.
with a little bit more detail.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? I'll take a motion to approve the consent item.
You have to open it up to the
Oh,
public.
anything from the public? Thank you. Take a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Okay, but wasn't that pulled from the consent agenda?
Okay.
You have to make a motion on number 7 because he pulled
Yep.
it.
Pardon?
You have to make a we
Separate
need a
number
motion
seven.
on number 7 because he pulled it.
But were your questions answered on that?
It was, but I think we
Okay.
need to, I move that we approve item 7 of the consent item.
And I'll second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We'll go on to item 10, business. Award of construction contract for the Highlands Harbor Lane Pavement Rehabilitation Project. Mr. Pulse.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Adeline, are you giving this one, or Doug?
Yes, I just want to say one thing.
Just
Me and
one?
Alan, we've been taking a lot of stuff from Greg this last couple of weeks, and Greg came up with a new word. It's called mentoring. So Adeline is going to be taking on a bigger role here lately, or in the next few weeks or next few months until we get somebody to take my position. So we're going to allow, Addie's going to take a shot at bringing these projects to you, and hopefully we get them approved and we get some more roads built.
Talk about white eyes. Addie?
Okay, well, it's that time of year again, and we have a couple of projects we're going to present. So on January 25th, the city advertised a notice inviting bids for the Highlands Harbor Lane Pavement Rehabilitation Project. On February 21st, we opened up bids from contractors with a wide range of, we had 10 people bidding, with a range in the low of $491,777 to the high end of $779,300, with Team Gelati being the low bidder. So, staff recommends that City Council approve and direct the city manager to enter into a contract with Team Gelati in the amount of $491,777 and authorize the city manager to approve 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments. This project will be Measure V funded, and the engineer's estimate was $695,000, and we came in quite below that.
Awesome.
Okay. Any public comment on this?
Good evening. My name is Henry Bornstein. I'm a resident of Clearlake in the Highlands Harbor area, and on the board of the Highlands Harbor Community Association. And I would just like to say, we all in the association appreciate the professionalism that Greg and Doug and Leslie have taken to this project. And when it was turned down last year, because the bid was over the engineer's estimate, we were a little disappointed. But I think that decision has been proven right, because these bids are so much lower. And we really do appreciate how the timing of the bids and how well the bids were run in order to get that whole thing. So we are looking forward to getting our streets finally paved under Measure V. So thank everybody.
Thank you. Anything further from public comment? I'll bring it back to council.
Here's what. So this picture that we have, this is the roads that are being completed. Is that correct? Okay. I just wanted to make sure. So we have 2 here. So is this one being done also?
Well, that's coming.
That's the next or second.
All right. Okay. Oh, okay. I got it. Okay. Thank you.
You want to move?
Take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move that they authorize city manager to enter into a contract with Team Gelati for construction of the Highlands Harbor Lane pavement rehabilitation project in the amount of $491,777, and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments.
Second?
We have a motion and second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Just a comment, this is the first real paving project for Measure V. Great, this is good news.
Yeah.
Exciting times.
Well,
First
damn road was-
residential one.
Yeah, first residential area.
Yeah.
Oh,
Country Club.
Oh,
Country
yeah.
Club, that's right,
I
you're
should
right.
know that, too.
But the scope of this one is
This is a big
significantly larger, so.
And I'd like to say, too, that we did make a good decision last fall in turning that down. As obviously, it was about half of what that was, if I remember right. So.
We have a, do we do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Overton?
Aye.
Councilmember Slutin?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kramer?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Passed. On to number 11, award construction, award of construction contract for the Moss Davis Pavement Rehabilitation Project. Mr. Folsom?
Let's give Addie another shot at this.
Okay. On January 17th, the city advertised notice inviting bids for Moss Davis rehabilitation projects. On February 21st, we also opened bids from the following contractors: VSS International, American Pavement Systems, Intermountain Slurry Seal, and Team Gelati, with VSS International being the low bidder at $210,120. This project is funded between the city and the county, with the county's share of costs being 71% and the city's share of cost in the amount of $60,934.80. Staff recommends that the City Council approve and direct the city manager to enter into a contract with VSS International in the amount of $210,120 and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments.
These Measure V funds?
This is Measure V funded also.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, I'll bring it back to council. Comment?
I do have one question.
Go ahead.
Well, Phil, that's it.
Oh, Phil, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Really, my question is, we're authorizing, from the way this is worded, we're authorizing 210,120, but our commitment to this is actually 60,934.80. So I'm just curious why we're authorizing the entire amount when our portion of the entire amount, are we taking?
We're awarding the contract for that amount.
We're awarding the contract and they're
with
paying
our
us.
share being the 60,000.
Okay, and we already have the agreement. Right, no, I get it, I just want to make sure that we have the agreement with the county already to, okay, that's just
That was my question.
want to make sure we're getting our money back, that's all.
That's right.
Anything further? I'll take a motion.
I move that we authorize city manager into a contract with VSS International for construction of the Moss Davis Pavement Rehabilitation Project in the amount of $210,120 and authorize the city manager to approve up to 10% for additional unforeseen contract amendments.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Overton?
Aye.
Councilmember Slutin?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kramer?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye. Item 12 is the 2018 General Plan Housing Element Annual Progress Report. Ms. Folsom.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this item, I'd like to introduce Gary Price, our contract planner.
I have a couple things to hand out. Take up the staff report, the actual redaction, as disabled, almost impossible to read.
Oh, that's right.
That to you.
Just a little bit, right?
Page number 6.
progress report relative to how we're doing with our general plan and our housing element. And so
Thank you.
this is a 2018 progress report, which is presented our previous report.
Thank you, sir.
Since adoption of housing element back in 2014. And so basically we talked about how many houses we produced this year. We produced 26 single-family houses this year. Many of them as a result of replacement houses from the fires, or street fires. So that's probably more than we normally have. None of the houses were considered affordable or low income. And so under the state requirements for the housing element progress report, we're supposed to
I don't get
identify
these. They're all the same.
how many houses we get according to income levels. And our housing element is distributed by very low income, moderate, above moderate income. And so that's how we're
I'm confused there.
provide opportunity for development of so many houses in each of those categories. So that's basically, we file this report to the state by the beginning of April, and then we'll be in position to take advantage of grants that come available to the state, otherwise we will not be eligible. So the table B I handed out describes that distribution of low-income units. Unfortunately, we compile this electronically, and the idea is for us to have a public review of this, and make sure we engage the public. This is an opportunity to listen to what the public has to say, what the council has to say, and to approve this memo of it to the Department of Housing and Development. In addition, we are kicking off the six-cycle housing update with the planning commission next meeting, I think it's April 2nd. So we'll be looking at our current housing element, sending it off to the public and making sure that there's opportunity for the public to any changes that have occurred during the 4 years, and this is going to be an 8-year cycle to between 2019 and 2027, if we're able to meet the timelines required by the state, which is to submit the element in draft form by May 22nd, and within 120 days adopt it through the public hearing process with the planning commission and the city council. So I've also attached a timeline that shows that very streamlined approach to getting this approved. It's going to be very tight. Normally, you do a housing element update, it takes 6 months to a year. So we're going to try this facilitated process with a little bit of risk in doing that, in that if there's stumbling like consultation with the tribes or not meeting timelines, then it becomes a 4-year cycle. We work back to the 4-year cycle, and then we have to adopt it again during that 8-year period, a new housing. So we're in the process of starting that process today. So I want to give you that heads up as well. So what we would recommend you do is open this item up for public comment, and listen to any comments from the public, and approve the report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there any public comment on this issue? Yes.
Cheryl Holman, representing Clearlake. I have not read the whole report. However, I recently went online to look at housing costs and also housing inventory when I looked at moving into this community, and we had very little moderate to upper housing supply. And I am looking at it now, seeing that our housing costs have gone up, which I'm sorry for low low-income families. However, I think that that margin is going to create a greater base of opportunity for our community to rise. So I'm sure that the low-income housing statistics have probably dropped. I'm sorry about that, but as a homeowner, as somebody investing in this community, I think this is healthy. So I just wanted to share that with you. Cheryl Allman, A-L-M-O-N.
Thank you, Cheryl.
My name's Patty Duke, and I've worked with low-income people, 55 clients. And the waiting list to get in place is over a year, if that, maybe longer. And this is a depressed area, and yes, it's nice for people to be moving in that have the ability to pay normal prices. But we have a lot of people out there that are hurting. We gotta take care of our people. Just because they're low income doesn't mean that they don't have needs or need help. And when we turn our back and look away and say, oh, we're gonna be better than that. It don't work that way. We gotta take care of our people.
Thank you. Any further comment? I'll bring it back to council. Joey?
So one of the things that we need to see in our housing element is a variety. You know, we have, since I've been on council, always focused on low income. So it was just the way it was at the time. But we have to move past just providing for low income. There are people who just don't quite fall into that low income, but yet still can't afford this high expense of housing. So we need the low, the moderate, the medium, and the high. We need to start looking at a more variety, and I think that's what this council has been talking about doing is trying to provide a variety. We need to have where everybody is comfortable in their range of being able to pay. We do have probably more low-income housing here than any place in the county, and for the population, probably more than most towns do. So I think we went out of our way to help the low income, and believe me, I've been there, so it's not like I don't understand it. I actually do. I think most of us do understand that, but we do have to start looking at a variety. We can't just continue to look at low income. We have to look at different stages, and we've talked about mixing them, the mixed use of the housing. And so those are things that I think we need to start looking at when we have construction going on, when we have the developers come in and look at these properties, putting a variety of different housings in there. So that's my opinion on that part.
Sure.
I have several questions and comments. You said there were 26 units?
22.
Your thing only says 11, so what is the difference?
Oh, 11.
Table A2 says 11. So, excuse me? I'm sorry? Okay. Also, on program H 3.2 and 3.4, the city will support funding requests for what appears to be the conversion, page number 10. H 3.2 and H 3.4, it says the city will support funding request, which appears to be the, quote, the Hope Center. Is that still the case?
Provide opportunities to meet with developers on an ongoing basis. Basis, and the city will support funding.
Okay.
Doesn't mean that it will provide funding.
Right. This means we give a letter.
The second one was support funding as well.
Okay.
So that would, under my interpretation of that is, if someone goes into the grant application for funding, then we would support that.
Okay. The other part is, let's see, I did a quick check on, this is item number H 4.4. The, page number 15.
4.4?
Mhm.
Okay.
I did a quick check. The sewer district, the special district, charges $11,000 for a hookup. The water district, $2,000 for a water hookup. I'm not sure exactly. I think fire is $1 per square foot, which includes the garage, and I'm not sure what the school fees is. My feeling is that the sewer district is expensive, and based on, if we see that numerous houses in the community have been lost and numerous houses are not being rebuilt, so there shouldn't be a capacity issue, and my understanding is that they've had a couple of $1 million set aside for future expansion. You know that's true or not?
Well, I probably somebody here can answer that second question. The first question is compliance with the government code.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we last updated our housing element, we, actually, I think it was the first time when Joan was here, we went out and we outreached to all the sewer districts and the water districts, the sewer district and the water districts, to enter into a resolution reserving capacity for low-income housing.
Okay.
So there's nothing in that legislation that says, just like all of this thing. There's nothing in the legislation that says the cost of, whatever the fees are. So we don't really have any control over that, but if we, like, for example, if our regional housing allocation number for very low income is 20 units, and the sewer district has to reserve capacity for those 20 units regardless of what they charge. So that's how that works. The water districts had adopted the same type of resolutions for their sections of town for that. So that's how that works. Relative to expanded capacity of the plant, I think there is sufficient capacity to meet our RENA numbers right now in the future.
Couple more. I'm not done yet. H 6.4, it says that the rental housing inspection, excuse me, page 21, section H 6.4.
H.
It said that rental housing inspection program that began in 2001 to address ongoing safety and sanitary conditions within the rental units in Clearlake. The program was discontinued in 2005. Is there any plans for the city to reinstate that?
I think we talked about that at staff level. Greg and Alan might have something more recent, but as my understanding, we don't have sufficient funding to expand our code enforcement services for that. What we could do, though, is go after some additional grant funding for that. But right now, most of these programs are based on the city's resource availability, and we just don't have the resources for that.
Yeah, just for information, I had a rental unit in the city of Sacramento, and I had to get a inspection on a yearly basis for it from Sacramento County at that point. I think that might be because some of the housing units desperately need some safety concerns addressed.
Yeah, that's something that we've talked about a few times, and that'll be something for Alan to, well, hopefully for Alan to take a look at and bring back for you guys.
The same thing in the city of Davis has all kinds of, I don't know we want to go that far, but even the city of Woodland has, if you sell a house or rent it, you have to get an inspection done by the fire department actually for safety. So there, and you get, as the homeowner, you have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So I know if if a tenant complains, we're obligated to go out and see if there's an enforcement issue.
But I think we want to be proactive in that, not just wait for somebody to call.
Yeah.
So let me see if I have one more. The same issue we have obviously with the mobile home parks. Some of them are, I don't know if I ever want to live in one of those places. They're horrible. And that's the kind of housing units we need to get fixed up. I think that's it.
Thanks for your comments.
I'm just curious about what would be the specific criteria that would meet the moderate income that these are ranked at. I'm wondering that because I see this list and I actually I know where a lot of these are and I know the builds that are going on. And I believe one of these is actually a Habitat for Humanity house. So I'm just curious to see what lands them in the moderate income category.
Well, there's first of all, there's the low income level, which is considered 80% of the median income for the county.
For the county.
For the county. And so what you do is a calculation for rentals and a calculation for ownership housing. And first of all, you determine what the income level is that HCD issues every year. And so, for example, a family of three with an income of $80,000, well, let's just say $100,000 would be the median income. And so median income would be your moderate level. Stop there and move up. And then below that, 80% of that would be like $80,000. And so, and then you would have that. Then you would have to show that you can sell a house, or you can afford to rent a house at that rent, at your income, and your income your allocation of income for a house can't exceed 30% of your gross income, and then for like a rental, your cost of housing is the 30% includes the utilities. So you have to kind of work backwards, and then it changes every year. Our current housing element does identify like the rental value, what your family income would have to be to meet that criteria. Right. And all I can say is that right now the way the state is coming down on cities is that they aren't accepting much of anything but rent restricted or restricted income, where you have to place a restriction on either the deed, if you're owning it, or on the rent, where if you're renting it, if you're building a new apartment unit, for example, you have to leave it like for low income at that restricted level for 30 years, let's just say. That would be considered acceptable low-income housing that you could qualify in your RENA numbers that you send to the state. That's what they're expecting. And so it's really hard. In Clearlake, it's a little easier because if you look at the median value of rent, it's within kind of the affordable range. But other areas like San Jose, it's completely out of whack. And so, there's a lot of workforce people, teachers that can't even afford to buy a house or rent a house anymore. So Clearlake's really in much better shape in terms of complying with HCD requirements than a lot of other agencies right now, just because of that.
But our median income actually does have an effect on this equation, and then it's
Absolutely.
kind of a sliding scale. That's as the housing values increase and as the rents increase, and the median income doesn't, then we get further and further into the moderate, and eventually could even become considered above moderate income, even for a simple house, because I guess right now, I just looked it up, we're sitting around $26,000 as the median income in this area, so that's, yeah.
It's around 75.
Oh, if we're going by the county. Okay, so the city of Clear Lake.
And then it varies based on, is it a one-person household to?
Right, okay. So, yeah, I guess that has a dramatic effect on it. So if we continue to see an increase in the value of homes, then it will continue to slide the scale.
But what I'm finding statewide is you can't really build a house affordably. You can afford a family with a median income pretty much anywhere in the state. if you want to build a house, it's got to be subsidized. It's got to be tax credit financing, farm worker housing. It's got to be funded from the state or feds to make it affordable for someone. Because the cost of building a house with all the building codes and everything is so extreme.
It is. It's unbelievably extreme. Well, thank you so much for your question.
Well, HCD gives and it takes away. So it's really strange.
Yeah, Gary, this, in looking through this, each of these components, each of these programs individually, are they have points attached to them as far as qualifying as having met the program requirements or the low-income requirements?
Yeah, well, like I said, there's like maybe, I would say, 7 or 8 recent laws that have taken effect since we adopted our last housing element. And they're pretty extreme in how you qualify a low-income house. And it has to be income restricted anymore,
Well,
pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know, like Councilman Slotin, I've, $11,000 sewer fee and $2,000 or $3,000 fees, all these adding up. How could if a developer wanted to come in and do a low housing project, can he build one that would, after the cost of it, that would?
My opinion is they wouldn't be able to, but they, like Habitat for Humanity can do it because they're, they use a combination of labor pool with the owners, and they get funding from the state. So a lot of nonprofit developers, they go after, well, for example, tax credit financing. They would come to the city, put a package together and want the city to approve the project up front, apply to the state for the funding, and then they would get a grant, or it wouldn't be a grant, it's basically a very low interest loan over 30 to 50 years, and that gives them the ability to build the project at affordable levels.
That low income or low cost loan would be by whom?
It can be from the state. There's actually the Department of Community Development is issuing a lot of funding right now for that. Emergency housing is a good example. There's a lot of funding for emergency housing shelters right now, and there's quite a bit for multifamily affordable housing. And typically what you would do is you would engage a nonprofit developer to come in and build a project in your town to meet the arena requirements for your city.
I noticed too, assistance for emergency shelters. What exactly does that?
What's that?
H 3.4.
What page?
16.
Okay. $3.4?
3.4. What do they consider an emergency shelter?
Emergency shelter is basically a homeless shelter, and it's limited to folks that don't have anywhere else to live, they don't have any money, and they live for a period of not to exceed 1 year at a shelter. And the idea of the shelter is to get them back on their feet and get them into regular housing.
Okay.
So that's, there's quite a bit of resources out there for that. I think we've had some warming shelters. I don't know if we've had any.
Well, we actually...
Not right now, we do not have one. But the idea is to maybe pull with the county and develop one. I think we talked about one, a veterans facility.
Well, that was one in the Hope Center. Is that something that I think would qualify?
And then there's transitional and supportive housing, which is housing for, like you take a house and you convert it to a transitional center for someone that's coming out of prison or someone that alcoholics that are transitioning into normal life. So those are different types as well. They're not emergency, but there's different levels of housing.
But they're the next step after the emergency.
Yeah.
And then H 6.5, preservation and replacement of mobile home and mobile home parks.
What page?
23.
23, I'm sorry.
Yeah, page 23.
Okay,
Sorry.
what's the question?
Well, we do have a lot of older mobile home parks around here, but so how would they qualify or help to satisfy this housing element question?
Well, I know that the state's very interested in not losing units in mobile home parks because that's a really important source of affordable housing in the community. And so if there's any way we can preserve what's available, I think that's what this is saying, and create more standard housing. So, you know, the idea is to provide information to folks that might have a unit that want to rehabilitate. We have our housing rehab program that could qualify for that. And there's things that we need to, you know, reach out to these folks. Is what we're supposed to do.
So then in total, if we're have plans or have things going for some of these programs, maybe some of them doing quite a lot on some, but others we're low on, does being high on one help to offset being low on another program? Do you understand what I'm saying? No, you don't?
Say that again, I'm sorry, Rose.
I'm saying, and to satisfy the housing element, I mean, if we don't, do we have to satisfy each of these regardless of whether we're doing very well on another one, or are there points given for?
We're supposed to report what we're doing.
Right.
And if we don't, or if we're not doing it, we need to tell them we're not doing it.
Okay.
And then if we're not doing it, then we need to look at our next housing element and say, well, if we're not doing it, why aren't we doing it? Maybe it's not feasible that we're doing it, we come up with something else.
So if we do 75% of it, for instance, is that?
Well, they love to see achievements.
Yeah.
So if we can produce, you know, 20% of our low-income housing need, that's really nice.
So progress is good too, then?
Yeah, but that's what
they don't all have to be cured.
You know, and I'm not telling you, this is my perspective, this is what the state's perspective is.
No,
and so the state wants you to do this, and all that the state is telling you to do is make the opportunity available to develop the development community to produce it. And so that's what we're trying to do here. And if we fail to achieve these things, you know, it's because of lack of resources, then there's not a lot they can do about it, you know. But we can try to show that we're doing our best. I know Joyce does a lot with, you know, the community and the, you know, getting things going with the homeless and helping the folks out, trying to find housing. So there's a lot of things that we can show that we're doing it from a city side to show that we're doing our best to achieve it, even though, you know, so.
Okay, thank you.
And to address that last issue, it's pending funding availability to expand the city's code enforcement program and other funding needs. So it shows that it's in our plan, but pending funding for it.
Right.
So we're not ignoring it.
Right, we're not ignoring it. In fact, we've been doing a lot with our code enforcement program. We allocated quite a bit of our CDBG money to reduce blight throughout the community. And so, you know, there's an example of where we're actually, you know, making some strides and achieving some of our goals of enhancing the residential neighborhoods. So there's a lot we can do, but if we don't have funding, we can't do it. So, for example, things like maybe working with the county to have them provide housing rehabilitation program for low-income families that own houses in Clearlake is a really nice thing to have when you have code enforcement, because what that does is it gives folks an availability of funding they wouldn't normally have from conventional financing to fix up their home and make it safe. And so that's something we really need to look at, possibly in the next CDBG funding cycle is maybe working with the county on developing a joint funding program, because we don't have the resources really to do an effective housing rehab program. But with the county, we might, because they have more resources. So there's an example in our housing element where we should be doing that. We haven't done it yet, but it's something that I think is realistic and we could achieve.
And the whole presentation here, it's an annual progress report. It's not a final by any stretch. It stretches years into the future.
Well, we have to do it every year, so.
Yeah, but I mean, as far as the project itself, to continue the city becoming a, you know, like our goals, a safe and place to live and everything else, and to take care of these mobile parks that are, they weren't, many of them along Old Highway 53 were not created for what they're being used for now. And it's a laudable goal, and it's just something for in the future we're working on. So, anything further?
Yeah, just one last question. In page 15 and 16, I don't see Golden State Water included in the resolutions, and also in between 2014 and 19, 175 equivalent dwelling unit services for low-income housing. So we used of that 11 of those, or 26? How many did we use? And does this roll over, or every time we get every 3 years 175 dwelling units?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to, is this program H 4.4?
Yes.
In accordance with the government code.
So we have 3 water districts here.
Right, right.
I don't see Golden State in it.
There are 3 water districts.
Right.
In the city.
Yeah, I don't think Golden State actually did a resolution. They're a separate entity. They're not, and they, it's really up to them to comply with the government code section. It was the city's responsibility to tell them to comply.
So if we just tell them, they have to?
We reached out to them and said, you need to comply. We'd love to work with you. Here's a resolution. Here's how we divvy up the units between the different districts, and they chose not to pursue it, and it's up to them whether they want to, you know, comply with the state law. So they chose not to.
Okay.
With regard to that 175 equivalent dwelling unit services for low-income households.
Which one's that?
That same program.
Oh, yeah.
How many have we done? Or is that,
I don't think we've done any.
we've done none. So we have, the 175's got to be over what period?
For the, you know, all we're doing is saying they have to reserve that many units for low-income housing. So
The water district and the sewer
when they get
district.
close to losing
Okay.
capacity, they have to go, okay.
Okay.
A developer comes in, is affordable, and you shall serve me, you know, 175 units because that's what you said you did.
So that's not each of those entities, that's.
Yeah, it's a percentage,
in-
so it's, you know, some of them have 30, and, yeah, we divvied them up based on their areas of the town and how much residential land was available, kind of on a, we thought was a fair basis.
So, but because they brought up Golden State and they didn't do the resolution, does that housing right there, are they required to hold space also, even though they didn't do the resolution?
Well, I need to really look and see if they did. I don't recall them doing one. I remember very clearly, we did one with the county, special districts. We did one with Canocti, and we did one with Highlands. And I don't recall, I remember meeting with the director there, and he wouldn't let me look at any of the records, and they were saying that they're not a special district, they're a public.
They're private owned.
And they don't have to do anything. So, you know, I said, well, this is the law, and.
But they actually are supposed to, right? Even though they're private, it doesn't make any
Yeah, they're
difference.
supposed to,
does it?
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Just was curious.
So do we need to add them to it, or if they're required to, or?
This is just a
something
report.
It's really up to them. It's really, you know, most agencies don't go to the extent we have. Most agencies say they just notify the special districts and let them deal with it. But we went to the extent of divvying up the housing units and working with them to come up with the resolutions. And I thought that was going way beyond what cities normally would do, so.
Anything further? Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2018 Annual Progress Report on the implementation of the general plan housing element.
Motion made and seconded. We don't need a roll call on this, do we? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, let's, you want to skip 13 for now? This will be consideration of employment services agreement with Alan Flora as city manager. Mr. Olson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce Paul Coble, representing Jones and Mayer, our city attorney.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, you have in your packets the proposed employment agreement should you elect to extend to Mr. Flora the opportunity to serve as city manager for this city. As set forth in the agreement within your packets, Mr. Flora would start with a monthly salary of $11,808.33. There is also a combined car and cell phone allowance of $400 per month. The provisions of the proposed agreement otherwise generally follow those that had been in Mr. Folsom's city manager agreement. It is a 3-year contract with an option for 2 additional years if agreed to by both parties, that is Mr. Flora and the city. If approved by you, the contract would take effect and Mr. Flora's employment as city manager would commence on March 28 of this year. There would be an overall net savings annually to the city's general fund in that Mr. Flora's financial compensation is less than that of the outgoing city manager. In addition, there are some short-term savings while Mr. Flora continues for a time to serve as both the finance director and the city manager. If it meets with your approval to hire Mr. Flora as the city manager, it is our recommendation that you do so pursuant to the terms of this proposed employment agreement.
Thank you. I'll open it up to the public for any comments. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, I'm talking with a couple hats tonight. Denise Luzolo, Chamber of Commerce President, former mayor, former councilwoman, business owner of the city. When I was serving in your seats, we didn't have the luxury of having someone be assistant to the city manager. We had to go out, Joyce can remember this, I'm sure, and have interviews and hope somebody came in and have narrow down all of these different applications and then interview them, of which, thank God, Greg was in those few that got interviewed. So it would be, I did serve on a board known as LAFCO, you all know what that is, where I worked with Alan on some different things he presented to us. I do think it's a benefit to you to have someone for a year being groomed by the person you trusted with the city manager position and knowing the direction the city is going. He's already in place. It's an easy fit. You guys don't have to waste a lot of time, and you're saving some money. He's a good fit for our county, our city, our overall community, in my opinion. I just wanted to state that tonight. Thank you.
I would make just one correction. As our public work director pointed out, he wasn't groomed, he was mentored.
Well, let me just explain that just real briefly.
The mayor uses the word delegate. Alan used the word dumping this crap on me. And I used the word mentor. So that's.
We got the message. Any further comment? I'll bring it back to council. Dirk?
As everybody knows, Greg is a neighbor of ours. And I forget, one late evening conversation over probably a couple of glasses of wine, I told him, you better, I shouldn't have said that? Okay,
Well, he's leaving,
sorry.
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter. I told you, if you're thinking about in place, and, you know, that's another attribute of our city manager. He has done that, and that's a very important part. You know, when you're in business, you always try to groom people to take your place, because that's a show of strength and dedication to your job. So, thank you, and I'm sure Alan is going to be a heck of a city manager too. You leave the place to run very smoothly. So, thank you.
Thank you. Russ?
Yeah, I was afraid there when Denise was talking that she was thinking we needed to go out to a recruiter and that we should back up here and start over again. And I was going to say, you know, although Alan was kind of on the bubble before your talk, I think he probably passed muster. And he was groveling quite a bit yesterday, I know. My only thing is you've got to speak up. No, I think Alan has certainly proven himself over the last year, and as far as between he and Chief Whitey, they're bringing us into the 21st century technology-wise. Really appreciate that. I appreciate the charts and graphs that make things easier to understand as we're doing our workshops, and I know you're going to do a great job, Alan. You were mentored by an excellent city manager. So you do have my vote.
Finally.
Well, Alan, I think you've actually been very lucky because you had Kelly Cox also who did, you know, to follow under and look. And so I think we were really blessed when you chose to come here and help us financially, and you've done a fabulous job at that. And hopefully you have learned over the past year other things that maybe you didn't know. And I have no doubt, and I have every bit of confidence that if Greg has confidence in you, as he's led us forward into a great city so far, I definitely have confidence. I see that we can even go further, and I expect a lot more out of you than I did of him. So, you know, he set the bar high, and I expect you to jump over it. so expect that that's going to be coming, and maybe you'll be worried about your job where you're at in a few years. so yes, I think you're going to do a fabulous job, and I look forward to working with you.
Again, it's not just the past year, it is the total sum of his experience working with the county for several years under Kelly Cox, and I believe over in Mendocino County. He brings a wealth of experience and information and new technology to the city. As I've stated before, our financial reports are the best I've ever seen. And not only my time on the council, but my time working in city government for decades. So job well done, and a job well mentoring for the past year in connection with prior experience.
You know, I think that your reports are very, very analytical and beautiful. I think it's going to be the difficult task you're going to be faced with here is that obviously you're coming into this with some empty seats, and it's going to be about filling those seats, backfilling those seats. And I just want to express to you that, you know, everybody on this council, along with everybody in the city staff, as you know, are behind your efforts, and we want to be here to make you a winner and to be successful at the position. Obviously, it's probably a bit daunting coming into it. You seem so cool and collective all the time, but the fact of the matter is there's got to be a part of you that's boiling slightly, and I think that I just want to express to you the hand that we are all here to provide whatever assistance we can. We want to work with you, and we want to do everything we can to make you successful, because you being successful makes our team successful, and it's really important. It's important to all of us on the dais here, and I'm pretty excited about seeing where we're going. I mean, we went from incredible to you got big shoes to fill, but I think you're going to one-up Greg, because that's your job. You're going to have to, right? We're going to be talking in a couple of years and going, man, we never would have imagined, right?
I'm definitely the young, improved version of.
Well, I have had some serious questions about the hair. So,
Oh, wait a minute, we were supposed to put that into the
right,
contract.
I know, that's what I did notice it wasn't written in there, but we'll have to make an amendment to the code.
I cut that out, because, hair is.
I know I have Dirk's support.
Love
it.
Oh, wait a minute. Didn't you just say something when you were in your bib overalls about what? It is not what. Come on, repeat it.
Yes, it's not the way the person is dressed, but it is the character and the decision-making abilities that's within them. It has nothing to do with your hair. I love your hair.
I feel that means you're going to be very successful, and don't you change a thing. I had to have him say it on the record.
Super hip, so for me.
Okay, let's bring it back. If there's no further comment,
Mr. Mayor,
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to approve employment services agreement for the city manager with Alan Flora.
Second.
Everybody's going to grab that one. Everybody seconds it.
Got a motion and everybody seconds it. Do we need a roll call on this? Okay.
Councilmember Overton?
Aye.
Councilmember Slutin?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kramer?
Aye.
Mayor Bennett?
Aye.
Welcome to the jungle.
Thank you for your support.
Well, we just lied to you.
Please, that was our last item. We can go to, what is that? Member reports. Let's start with.
We're not going to let Greg do his report
Oh,
first.
wait, yes.
He's already.
Oh, what's his name?
Not gone yet.
Okay, don't make it too long because you don't have that much time left.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Staff and several council members toured the Cache Creek Dam this week. That was a very informational tour for me, having not been there before, and so appreciated that. Thanks to that tour, I was hooked in with a website that shows the lake level and projected lake level. So that's now on our website. So if people want to see where the lake level is projected to go, that's now on our website. We should be at 9-foot Rumsey by Sunday, according to this website, and potentially down below 8-foot Rumsey within another week if we don't get any more rain. So that's all positive news. That we should be able to then reattach our docks and get Thompson Harbor reopened again. We have a new assistant planner starting on Monday. His name is Brent Albrecht. So that'll be some help with our community development and helping Julie out a little bit. We have a special meeting reception with Adventist Health next Thursday at 5 o'clock at the community center. So just want to invite the public and everyone else to come out to that. We have another reception planned on March 28th for the retirement of Public Works Director Doug Herron. So everyone come on back to that. And I just want to commend the council on a fine choice in making Alan the next city manager. And that concludes my report.
George?
Yes. Well, I want to thank your lovely wife for moving here, because probably if she'd have said no, you wouldn't be here. So I think she's our best part of our city because she came. And without her, you wouldn't be here. So I want her to know that we really appreciate her taking the step and moving here. I know that might not have been an easy choice, especially when she hears those things at the meetings. You know, and we're definitely going to miss you as our mentor of all of us, as our neighbor and as our friend. You know, you've become a part of us, so I hope you don't just leave and not come back and visit. So,
Planning to stick around.
yeah, good, because we would hate to lose you as our neighbor and our friend. I'd also like to commend Public Works for their very hard work through our winter and you know, through all the things that they did. And they still stayed on top of other little things that I was kind of surprised to see how much that they do. So I'm very impressed with our Public Works Department. They're doing a wonderful job, and I don't see any of them slacking anywhere at all. So sometimes I ask them, you know, come and eat when they're at the center or something, and they're like, oh no, we're just too busy, and go on. So I tell you, we've got a really good crew there. So I'm very impressed with them, and I think you guys did an awesome job of hiring the people in the right places. Again, great job both of you guys did on that. So I think that's pretty much it. Again, we're having our fundraiser this month is the March for Meals. It's where we recognize our Meals on Wheels people who do our volunteer work, and also where, you know, we ask for funding. We will be doing a dollar drive around town, so please watch for, you know, as the old saying goes, every dollar counts, and it really does in this situation, because, you know, we were figuring up it costs about $2,000 to feed a senior for a whole year. You know, I mean, that's really not that much money if you think about it. So, you know, please think about helping out the senior centers in your area. You know, we all are having a rough time, so everybody can use some help. So thank you very much, and I'll look forward to seeing you down at your other city, because I'm going to come down and see you there.
You know, I don't have a lot to report. So, again, thank you so much for the work that you've put into our city, and how exciting it's going to be seeing this transition take place. And I hope you're going to be a phone call away.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to make sure we have that. Because I extended all that offer, but I don't really know how I could help you. So you're still going to need him. Anyways, thank you so much.
We'll stand there and watch. We'll say, call Greg.
I don't have really a whole lot to report. I think we had some social engagement. We had the seafood boil. We had margarita night. And we had the Park Study Club event, all great fundraisers, so all good stuff.
Community, giving to the community.
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely was fundraiser month. I had all of those, plus one Lower Lake Action Group Chapino feed. We went to a couple of meetings, APC, which I don't need to get into, and Lake Links. Also went on the tour of the dam. And for those of you who missed it and have questions about how the waters of Clearlake are controlled or not controlled, Lower Lake Community Action Group, I'm getting this message in, has their April dinner meeting, and has a guest speaker, Tim O'Halloran, who is actually the general manager of Yolo County Flood Control and Water Conservation District, who led the tour for us the other day. Getting past that meeting is on April 10th, and Lower Lake at their Lower Lake Community Action Group's clubhouse. So those of you that would like to attend and learn a little bit from that, from our speaker, please join us. Greg, like I said, I'm gonna really miss those ties. Gonna miss you. You've done just a fantastic job for us over the last 4 years. You've been the face of Clearlake. You've given us credibility back, and appreciate that. And I don't know what to help. I'm kind of running out of words, but thank you very much for what you've done for us.
I attended, we had a hazard mitigation meetings a couple of times, one of which was 2 days in a row. And as a result of that, the city manager met with department heads and has delegated work for them to do with something required by the federal government, I believe. And It was very informative and very intense. The Public Works Director was there, the Chief and/or Selly was there, Lieutenant Selly, and we'll be moving forward with that. I don't know what the return date of the project is.
It's like a year-long project, so I think it's what's, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a lot of staff work involved in
Absolutely.
Meeting the requirements on that. We had a PEG meeting this last Monday night, public, our TV8 meeting up in Lakeport. We are moving forward with the cleaning out of our room over here, inventorying the property we have, and developing programs that have laid dormant for a long time, and beginning to make contact with people who will be underwriters for programs. So that I'm really excited about that. John Jensen is our station manager, and again, it's you know, Beth was on there for a long time, and when she departed, you always want to move up a step. I want you to remember that also.
Jump over that bar.
So again, it's been an honor to work with you, Greg. You have, from the time I first applied to be appointed to fill Denise's spot when she had to step down, when and not just myself, but I'm sure other applicants walked in your office, you had a list of stuff that we needed to familiarize ourselves with. And it was not just something off the top of your head, it was well thought out, because your having a council to work with meant that they needed to be informed. And I appreciated it then, and I appreciate the advice you've given me over the time, any questions I've had, and be aware I have a lot. So we're going to miss you, but we wish you well.
Thank you, Mayor.
And soon city's game is all lost, but life goes on and careers go onward and upward. So that's all I have.
Can we make it a requirement of his contract that he has to wear, you know, the ties?
Well, we've covered Halloween.
Hair
No, the hair's got to stay. I mean,
I don't want his.
Why?
Well,
I tell you why.
There are those of us who remember Harpo, and I won't go any further. So, and, I'll support you on that one.
I'm gonna miss the tie, because I sit here and I get to see it.
Well, Gary Price might be competing with him today. You see this thing? Look at this. He's got a forced tie. It is a red one.
Okay, in the absence of anything further, we will adjourn to closed meeting,
Closed session.
closed session, and the time is, oh, yes.
Important news. If you didn't get the memo, we had 10 brand-new cars that rolled into the lot today, so good news for the city. We had the other night a car broke down while they were trying to go to a call, so it's much needed, so thank you.
And that is through our lease program with Enterprise, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Great start, great start. In the absence of anything further, we'll adjourn to closed session. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, it'll be.